Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with another layout that I got done at the crop back in October where I got 26 layout done. This is layout number 8 out of 26 and this was it was Mason's favorite day of the entire trip. On the way back, we stopped in Ontario. I guess in Ontario, we ended up spending 7 days because Ontario is a really big province. So, 2 of those days were traveling to get to, near Toronto. And then we spent a total of 5 days in Toronto. And one of the days we spent at Canada's Wonderland. And it was Mason's absolute favorite. The park opened at 10 in the morning. We got there at 9:35 or something like that, so we would have time to park and then we could get in line and we could get in the park the moment it opened its doors. And then we stayed there, we walked out. They turned off the rides, they closed the gates to each rides at maybe right at 10 o'clock, but the rides keep going till probably 10:30 until everybody has had, they won't turn anybody away. They just close the doors and then they say, okay, once we're done with, the people in line, then we'll close the doors. So we ended up leaving the park. I think it was like about that 10:25 at night. So it was a full day and he had such a blast. It was a gorgeous day. That was another thing. When we got there, we kept looking at the weather and almost every day they were calling for rain. And, if you've ever been to an amusement park, if it starts to rain, it kind of ruins your day because they close all the rides because it's not safe, right? So it was just perfect. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous day. It wasn't too hot, but it wasn't cold. It was a really nice, there was a nice breeze. So when you're waiting an hour and a half in line for rides, you're not, cooking. So these are a couple of pictures that we took as soon as we got in the park with the big, it's like the castle at Disney World, but it's in Wonderland. It's a huge mountain. There's actually like a ride in there, and then they also have like shows. They have divers that dive off this mountain or whatever. It's a prefab mountain. It's not a real mountain, but Wonderland is known for that mountain. So we did take a picture of that. I have one picture that's 4x4. The other one is probably like 3x4, 3.5x4. I cut down the black cardstock. It looks to me like it's probably 8x8. I cut 2 strips of pattern papers that are 1x8, and I made a little border at the top and the bottom. Of course, before I went on this trip, I went ahead and I put all my titles on some wax paper, so I didn't have to wonder what my title was going to be. I didn't have to wonder what my journaling was going to be because I pre-did that before I went. Okay, just a little reminder, we're having our Boxing Week sale right now. It ends on January 3rd. There's 2 codes. There's Box 60, and that's 60%. All the single files in our shop, all the classes, all the crops. The other code is Box 20, and that is for all the bundles. And the bundles are already discounted, so it's an extra 20% off. So on some bundles, it could be up to 70% off. So that's ending in a few days. So I just want to remind you of that. And also, we have the new Santa gnomes that are going to be available today. So check those out. They are so stinking adorable. I can't wait to use them on my layouts. So I love putting a title on the side of my pictures like that. I just find that it brings, the attention to the photos. Even though I have quite a few colorful things around the photos, I love putting the title right next to it, and it brings attention to the photos. And then I put a small journaling card right underneath one of the photos. And then next to that is where I'm building an embellishment cluster. And I've mentioned that a few times, but when I'm building an embellishment cluster, I like to have a foundation because it kind of lays the plan out. It's just like when you're building a house. If you didn't put a foundation on it, it would just feel like it wouldn't belong there, right? So if you have a foundation, it grounds it. So the same thing for your embellishment clusters. And what I like to use a lot of times for my embellishment clusters are circles, squares, a lot of times viewfinders because they're just my favorite. But you can use tags, frames, whatever that you use, it's the bottom layer. And then from there, you build on. And then as you're building on, you just make sure that the next thing that you put on touches at least, one or two things that's already in the cluster. So that first 2-inch circle is touching the 1.5-inch circle. That flower is touching the 1.5-inch circle and the 2-inch circle. And then now the flower makes 3. Now that little bird, it's touching the 2-inch circle, the 1.5-inch circle, the flower, and the bird. So all of a sudden, everything that's in that cluster belongs together, belongs on this cluster together. Another thing that I like to add to finish off the clusters are little things like I was trying to put that heart, to fit in one of the clusters. But one thing that definitely fits in every cluster is some enamel dots. So I'm adding enamel dots in each of the clusters. But another thing that I really like to add, and it adds a lot to the cluster, it kind of finishes it off, is to add words. And this is from our scrapbooking words. And there's like, I don't know, 80 words on one sheet. So lots of words to use on all your layouts. And I just find that it really kind of finishes off that layout. And then once I have everything down, I literally go through the rest of the embellishments that I had for this page kit. And I'm kind of looking and saying, what else can I add to kind of finish off these clusters? Because a lot of time they're great, but by adding that little square, it just finishes it off. It grounds it even more. And sometimes, I put it on as I'm building the layout, and other times it's once I'm done everything, I kind of look at everything that's left and say, I've got a lot of stuff in this page kit. Is there anything else that I can add to finish that cluster? One thing I like to say is if you don't like a cluster, just keep adding to it because a lot of times it just doesn't have enough stuff into it. Just remembering to make sure that it touches more than one thing. And that's it. That's going to complete this layout. And I just want to take a second and just thank my patrons again. The words can't even express how much I appreciate that you're supporting me and making it possible for me to live out my dream and do as many videos as possible for you guys. And that's it. I want to thank you so much for watching. Bye.